All right, on to our next topic. Snapchat, beautiful little social media app with 347 million daily active users, is cutting 20% of its employees. They have about 6,000 employees, about 2,000 of them are hitting the
Whoa.
end. It's really interesting, and I want to get your thoughts on why you think this is happening. For me, it kind of led me into this thesis of some articles I read this week about Jeremy Grantham, who's a perma bear, talking about a super bubble collapse. And the way a super bubble collapses is you have a leg down, then you have a nice leg back up. For us, it was the S&P at 360, then the S&P at 430, then that leg comes back down. And his thesis, at least for 2022 super bubble collapse, is lack of corporate earnings and profits are going to lead the market to finally recognize that we are in a bubble. It's time for it to collapse, and we're going to head lower on the major indices. Now, Snapchat cutting 20% of its employees and some of the other hiring freezes we're seeing. I guess my question to you is, do you think that's a little bit of an enablement of this thesis coming true, that corporate earnings are going to start going down, which means the PE of the market has to go down, which means all valuations have to retract? Or do you think Snapchat just sucks and they're cutting 20% because they're cutting 20%?
Well, yeah, I think there's two answers to the question. Let me pose a different question to you. When's the last time you thought about Snapchat or opened the app?
So I open it occasionally just to see what's going on, but I do not text my friends on it at all.
Yeah, like how many friends do you know that are adamant users of Snapchat?
Yeah. And it's because I'm getting to 25 and the real user base is like 18 to 22.
I mean, yeah, probably even lower than that by now, right? So that's one point, right? So I think Snapchat itself, the company, is facing a lot of competition from all directions, right? Facebook and Instagram have rolled up a lot of those features into their products. You have TikTok, which took the world by storm years ago and has dominated social media ever since. And Snapchat, I think, is just having trouble finding its place in the social media market. It does really cool stuff in VR and AR, but as we see with Meta platforms, that stuff isn't paying the bills, right?
Yeah.
Those are kind of gimmicks to get people in. And then you need to have these really strong core features to the platform to get people to stay, like TikTok has with their editing part of their app and all of the music you can get in and all that, like Instagram has with all of their awesome reels and feeds and all the things that they do now. I can't think of what that is for Snapchat these days, other than the AR filters that are, go away every so often or only unlocked at certain locations and whatever. So I think some of it really has to do with Snapchat and their actual business. On the flip side, Snapchat has always been this really interesting bellwether or, canary in the coal mine for stocks, right? Its earnings are always a little before all the other big tech giants. And
Yep.
usually they're the first people when you see ad rates drop or you see advertisers spend less and all that. You see it in Snapchat, and then every other stock falls sympathetically with Snapchat until they release their earnings and bounce back and all that. So I don't know. All that to say, I don't know whether this 20% cut is more because of Snapchat's lack of self identity in the social media market versus Instagram versus TikTok, or if this is a canary in the coal mine of things to come with other companies saying, hey, we're not just freezing hires anymore. Our earnings are so low, we're going to start cutting employees, which kind of gets to what you were saying next, which is this might be the first canary in the coal mine with a lot of canaries to follow, showing us that the E in the PE ratio will get bad enough
Right.
where the prices have to follow to get us back to the PE of around 12 or 15 or whatever the market expects. There's a big divergence between prices right now and expected earnings in the near future. I'm not sure which one. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it would be the case for earnings. Snapchat in particular, like the ad market is not doing as bad as we thought it would a couple months ago, but it is doing worse than we thought. And I think YouTube ad revenue kind of shows and highlights that's happening. And the hard part of me about Snapchat is, and the reason I think earnings would go down from here would be their main thing is 13 to 35-year-olds first develop brand impressions at that young age. So if you're Allstate, if you're Mountain Dew, and you want to be the soda that's drinked by 20-year-olds, you got to get them when they're 13. The problem is just Mountain Dew just has so many other places where they can get more specific advertising measures and more like actual performance tracking advertising measures, where Snapchat just becomes this thing where it's just like, do I really care? And then on top of that, you can't build a following on Snapchat. It's not this TikTok algorithm that gets you discovered. So it's always been whenever I hear 347 million people use it every day, I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, I mean, Snapchat's history was never trying to be that, right? They are the app that was definitely trying to make sexting safe. Their total words, like, they've always wanted to be the people where you can go and send whatever messages you want to your friends with full confidence that they will be deleted, not archived, and that's kind of how that product has evolved. And so you're right, it doesn't have things like a social viral loop, a good way to follow people and keep track with them, a way to build a real brand identity. That's just not what the app was designed to do from the get-go. And now they're kind of seeing, hey, social media has really pivoted where people want to build a following. They want to cultivate a brand. And that's just not what Snapchat is about. It's about online safety, not online, like expanding your presence.
Do you think they are a buyout candidate? Obviously Facebook couldn't. I mean, Google.
It would be cool if Apple bought Snapchat, I think.
Oh,
Apple. No, you don't think
yeah.
so?
No, with the AR VR, I'm saying, oh, that makes
Exactly. No brainer. So I think Apple already does this a lot with their, sorry, I'm an Android user, so I'm going to butcher this, but it's, whatever their AR emoji, make your own emoji. I think they could integrate a lot of those AR VR apps into iMessage. And I think that would be killer. Like if they rolled up everything Snapchat does into those unique blue bubble chats, I think that would push people over the edge to get an iPhone. Even people like me, I'd be like, there are too many features I'm missing out on. I have to switch to an iPhone.
Apple buying Snap, and there's like what, 1 billion people using iMessage every day or every.
Yeah, man. And like because Apple's a hardware company, they could take Snap's glasses, the spectacles. There's a lot of really nice synergies between Snapchat and Apple, and the businesses are different enough, way different, where I don't think they would get hit with that. Like, hey, you guys are going to form a social media monopoly. Apple doesn't have a social media presence of any kind, right? Other than the App Store, but Google has that, right? So it'd be very, very interesting if Apple was like, hey, we're thinking about buying Snapchat. And I bet Google, same thing, would be thinking about buying Snapchat, right? Google Glasses, all the AR, VR stuff enabled on Android. I think one of those giants would be candidate. What do you think? Who do you think would buy Snapchat?
Apple sounds so cool. I never realized that before. Like, yeah. iMessage incorporating Snapchat. Snapchat is iMessage just in their own little way with photos. Apple incorporating that would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would work.